All right, greetings from the Dark Continent. Conscious Caracal here, or Adams Van Sale, here to shine a light on the goings on down south for the last time in 2022. This is the last stream of the year. I'm going to be giving some feedback in regards to the UN trip that me and my colleague Ernst Roets did as AfriForum representatives. I'm going to be answering your questions, and then also I'm going to be giving you some feedback on our, in Afrikaans you'd say, on skakeling, our connection or our building of ties and reinforcing of ties with our friends in South Tyrol, the Friends of the Afrikaner there. Also a fascinating story. But yeah, welcome to the show tonight. If you are here from Chris Wyatt's stream that I joined earlier today, welcome back. I hope I can give you some new information. But yeah, let's start off, I think, with the context, and then we can listen to Ernst Roets's speech. And I'll give you some feedback there, and then I'm also, like I said, I'll be answering your questions. Please keep them to the topic of the UN or this trip of AfriForum. I'd appreciate that. I'll be focusing specifically on questions regarding that. All right, I see people are already coming in. All right, so let's give you some context. So, oh well, just 1 second. All right, so we went, me and Ernst Roets went on a trip to Europe last week or earlier in December. We flew at 30th of November and we landed again last week. And this trip had it had a lot of objectives, but three main objectives. First objective was that we wanted to go do a speech or a presentation at the 15th session of the United Nations Forum on Minority Issues. And then secondly, I wrote a report on specifically discrimination and incitement of violence against minorities in South Africa. And we handed that in at the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, or CERD. And then the third objective, or main objective, was to go reinforce our ties with our friends in South Tyrol, the Friends of the Afrikaners. So those are the three main objectives that we went to achieve. I see. Thank you very much for everyone already tuning in. All right, so let's start off with the speech. So this speech was at the 15th session of the United Nations Forum on Minority Issues. I'm going to be playing it on screen. It's just 2 minutes, so just some further context. We were there in this big room with representatives of states, but then also NGOs from all across the world. And these NGOs specifically focus on minority issues, and AfriForum was there representing minorities in South Africa and giving feedback on what's going on there. The South African government was supposed to give feedback, but we'll get into that after we've watched the clip. So it is a short clip because there's so many organizations that need to give feedback that it's everyone gets 2 minutes to give their feedback, or to not the feedback's the wrong word, to do their presentation. So me and Ernst had to put our heads together. We had to figure out how do we condense everything that's going on in South Africa, how minorities are being targeted, how minorities are being discriminated against, and incitement of violence is being committed against them. How do we condense this into 2 minutes? But we achieved it, and I think we did it very well, and I'm going to be playing that for you here now, and then we can discuss it. Let's see here. So as I always say, I'm not the fastest when it comes to screen sharing, so just give me 1 second. All right. I think that will do. Share. Let's see. Can you see? Yes. All right. So let's listen here, and then afterwards we can have a chat about what was said.
I'm now calling to AfriForum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. If racism is measured by the amount of race laws that a government implements, the South African government, with over 125 race laws, surely constitutes the most racist government in the world. Perhaps this is why they failed to report at this session yesterday. The South African private sphere is also culpable, with major corporations shamelessly enforcing moratoriums on the appointment and promotion of minorities. During the COVID-19 lockdown, small businesses were legally barred from receiving government relief based on racial criteria. An organization on the front line of the fight against gender-based violence was also barred from government funding for the same reasons. Julius Malema, one of the country's most influential politicians, has stated publicly and under oath that he might one day call for the slaughter of the white minority. He encourages his supporters to inflict violence against minorities and to chase them off the property that legitimately belongs to them. In a recent speech, he called on his supporters to kill those who stand in the way of his revolution. Despite his obvious racism and hatred for minorities, he has been spared international condemnation. Mr. Chairperson, the UN does not have a good track record when it comes to intervention and the prevention of atrocities. This is because the UN places too much emphasis on diplomacy and fostering good relations with states as opposed to peoples. States and peoples are not the same. The only way for the UN to strengthen its influence in this regard is to decentralize its approach by strengthening its ties with communities and organizations on ground level, especially those who are antagonized by their governments. As long as the UN and global role players favor diplomacy with oppressive governments over the basic freedoms of peoples and communities, we cannot expect progress. The South African government in particular should be called out for its anti-minority aggression. Thank you very much.
All right. So yeah, I think that's a very good use of 2 minutes, and we had, I think, 5 seconds as a change there. I think that was a very, but yeah, like I said, we worked very hard on putting those 2 minutes together, making sure we cover as much of what is important as possible. See, more people are coming in. Arti Pandey, nice to see you. Always tuning in. Good evening, he says. And then also, Sideliner Opinions says, very brave of Adams to take the UN to task in their own backyard. Well, thank you very much, Sideliner Opinions. And yeah, so that was the speech. We got, and I see Mark Mayberg says, great factual speech. So we got 2 minutes to do our presentation, like you said there. I see Hendo also says, potent 2 minutes, Adams. Well, yeah, I think he did very well. But yeah, that was the first great success. So there's a lot of reasons why we did this speech specifically. And I think one of the best reasons was something we couldn't even predict. And that is the fact that the South African government, when they were called to give feedback. So the South African government had representatives that had to give feedback to the United Nations on how discrimination in their country, specifically against minorities, is being fought and how minorities are being protected in their country. When the UN called on South Africa for their opportunity now to give feedback, deathly silence. There was no South African representative in the room. So this is a very important point, seeing as the fact that AfriForum then had to step up to the plate, so that the South African government clearly shows their disregard and no care attitude when it comes to minority issues in their country. So then AfriForum has to do that for them. We then took the responsibility to give the full picture and the feedback and report to the UN what's going on in South Africa. And that just tells you everything. But that's just one of the reasons. The other reasons, and I think this is also important to stress, is that AfriForum didn't go to the UN because we thought, or with our mission was to get the UN to come save us here at the southern tip of Africa. That's absolutely not why we went. We went there for a very broader, specific list of things. So firstly, as was demonstrated now by AfriForum being their representative, giving feedback on minority issues in the absence of the South African government, it establishes AfriForum as the leading voice internationally when it comes to matters regarding South Africa, but specifically minority matters that and issues regarding minorities in South Africa. When people need information about those issues, AfriForum will be there to give the facts and to tell the world what's going on. That's one of the first things. So taking part in these types of meetings and these types of opportunities gives us and builds our legitimacy abroad and a reputation abroad as a trustworthy source of information when it comes to South Africa. And it also opens a lot of doors. I mean, we talked to a lot of influential people and groups there. There were hordes of NGOs there that focus on similar issues as AfriForum, and we could network with them, add them to our contact list. If we ever do a liaison tour or visit their country to spread information about what's going on in South Africa, we can always contact those NGOs that we talk to there. And we also had a great conversation with the special rapporteur on minority issues there for the UN. And we also had a correspondence with the High Commissioner on Human Rights for the UN. We sent a report to him as well. I see here there was a... oh, yeah, no, this is actually the question that I'm addressing. Christopher, what results are you expecting from the UN? But yeah, what you mentioned there in regards to the historical record is also important. So it puts racial discrimination in South Africa, what's going on, things like Diskim, things like what Malema says about minorities, his incitements of violence. It puts it on the historical record, number one, and it puts it on the international radar on record, number two. Nobody will ever be able to say that nobody warned us. We didn't know. Nobody told us about what was going on. AfriForum and other organizations as well, and other individuals as well, are creating a collection, a database of information. We're putting it on the record. We're telling the world what's going on so they can see for themselves, and that nobody in the future can ever say that nobody warned us or we didn't know. That's the other thing, but that's not one of the main things, but it is one of the things that at least that it does. Also, what's very important to get back to that contact list that we build is the fact that the types of people that you meet there are not the only people that you reach. That I constantly want to go back to Afrikaans, the saal, but the big room that we were in, the great hall that we were in, was also filled not just with representatives of other NGOs, but also representatives of states. So the United States was there, other European countries were there, other African countries were there, and they all listened to Ernst Roets's account of what's going on in South Africa and his documenting of what's going on in South Africa. So again, that makes them familiar that AfriForum exists. They know who we are, they know what we do, and they associate us with solid information and minority issues in South Africa. That's very important. I see Dylan says, thank you, CC and AfriForum. Well, thank you, Dylan, for tuning in. I see Colonel Chris Wyatt is also here. He says, shut down my stream. I tried to send viewers, but my moderator abandoned me for you, so I did my best. Thank you very much, Chris. I really appreciate it. I hope they learned something new. I gave you all the juicy and good information, but let's see. A lot of my subscribers... a lot of my subscribers can also learn something, maybe, if they didn't catch that stream. I see a sideline opinion says, any international exposure and publicity is better than nothing. Such a forum provides a platform for networking. Absolutely. It also gives you that opportunity where else are you going to report the discrimination and hate speech against minorities in South Africa? This is the perfect venue. This is where this type of stuff gets put on the record, and also gets out there. Another thing that it achieves is the fact that it creates ambassadors for our cause. So we're talking to a lot of people there. We're making new friends. We're making new contacts. We're making new allies. And they all become ambassadors for our cause. So if they encounter lies about South Africa, if they encounter lies that say the ANC are doing a good job, or there's no racial discrimination in South Africa, these types of lies, or the farm murders are just normal crime, whatever, those types of lies and falsehoods, if they encounter them, they now know the facts, and they will stand up for those facts, and they will spread the truth. If there are any lies about AfriForum, we now have this growing collection of ambassadors that will set the record straight. If AfriForum or South Africa or the ANC come up in a conversation and the conversation is not factual, then they will be able to set the record straight because of the type of liaison that we did. I see John Hutchin is supporting South Africa from the Arizona, USA. Thank you very much. All right. Then there's a little tongue-in-cheek objective that we fulfilled, and that is just the seething and the absolute anger and outrage that we saw from the pro-discrimination activists here in South Africa, and then just all those horrible individuals that support or ignore or downplay discrimination against minorities in South Africa or incitement of violence against minorities in South Africa. The fact that they just absolutely lost their heads at the fact that AfriForum was given a speaking chance and putting the facts straight there at the UN really shows you that we are fighting the good fight and that we are achieving a lot. I mean, if what we were doing there was trivial and it didn't have any impact, these people would just be able to brush it off. They wouldn't be freaking out as they did. We also know from previous experiences that when we got registered at ECOSOC, that the South African government, the ANC, tried everything in their power to stop that from happening. They've also in the past tried to stop us having a speaking turn at the UN. And this is also very telling. I mean, like I said, if what we're doing is not really achieving anything, if what we're doing is not exposing meaningfully what's going on in South Africa, why would you even bother trying to stop us getting this opportunity? I think that says a lot. I think that's something to keep in mind. So yeah, those are the main objectives, and we achieved them with flying colors. A lot of them, like I said, we couldn't even predict, like the South African government not even showing up at the when they had the opportunity. Dagbreker says, "Good evening, Ernst. Excellent speech. Really appreciate it." Well, Ernst did do very well. I'm not speaking in third person. All right, but there's more to it. Mark Mayberg says, I live in an area with plenty of caracal magnificence. Oh yeah, no, that's they're beautiful animals. No, that's it is a little bit of a guilty pleasure seeing that happen. All right, but there's more. It wasn't just that speech. That was just the first thing that we did. Next, I wrote a report for CERD. So CERD is the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, also in Geneve. And I wrote a report for them. So you all will remember I did that report, The World Must Know, when I outlined all those ways that minorities are being targeted and attacked in South Africa. But then I took the sections on racial discrimination and the sections on hate speech, and I put all of it into a more condensed report, and I updated it from everything that's happened since the release of The World Must Know 2022 till now. And we handed that in at CERD. I'll get to that now. I see Gert asks, is there a link to the speech? Absolutely. There's a link in the description of this video. So you just go to the description, expand it. There's a link to the full speech right there. Bev says, thanks for the connector. The skakel. That's the theme of today. You'll only get that joke if you've watched the chat that I have had with Chris Wyatt earlier today. So yeah, the handing in of, or the submission of this report at CERD also went very well. So we went there, and because we had our UN badges as an official NGO there, we were welcomed, and there wasn't like interrogation of who are you, why are you here, show us proof that you made an appointment, whatever. No, they were very welcome. We showed our badges, and we showed them the reports, and they're like, okay, no, cool, this is fine, you can go in. And we went to the representatives of CERD, and we handed in this report that I just told you about. So this report outlines not only discrimination in, like, for example, what Dischem was doing, the South African government's racial discrimination against minorities. It also highlights and documents hate speech against minorities, like, for example, with a specific focus on what Malema has been saying recently, but also in the past. For example, what came out in the at the same court case. So the court case earlier this year. So then we went to we handed in the report. They were very welcoming. They accepted the report. They asked us questions about the report. They were very curious. And then also they gave us information, or not gave us, we were aware, but they informed us again and emphasized that next year, 2023, is the year when the South African government will be reviewed by CERD in regards to how it's dealing with racial discrimination. So the South African government is registered there, and they have to report back every few years on how discrimination is specifically being dealt with in their country. 2023, they're going to have to report back. And the representatives of CERD told us that this report that we handed in is now going to be part of that process. And then also, not just is it going to be part of that process, we can also contact them to discuss being part of that process in person next year. Now, nothing is confirmed yet. The possibility, we've been informed now of the possibility, which is, and the handing in of the report is already a massive first step, and that report's going to be part of the process. But there's a potential for AfriForum to be a participant in this process in person as well. So I'm going to be in correspondence with CERD regarding that. Like I said, nothing's confirmed yet, but we're making the right steps in the right direction. That could be very entertaining and very useful in the fight against discrimination in South Africa. If AfriForum can have a seat at the table when the South African government gets reviewed. So that was the other thing. So that's not how you treat someone, like I said, told Chris Wyatt as well. That's not how you treat someone that you want to get rid of. We're just like, yeah, whatever, thank you, and goodbye. The way we were treated at CERD was curiosity, genuine interest in what we had to say, what the contents of the report, even giving us extra information about what's lying ahead in 2023, inviting us to correspond with the organization or with the committee. Like I said, that was very productive, and that was very encouraging. That's not how you just shoo someone away. That's how you interact with someone that you genuinely are interested in what they have to say. So that was very nice as well. Evan, I see here, says, thank you guys for doing what you are doing. Well, thank you very much, Evan, for your support. Also, Crystal Smith, UN report comes back, Biden administration, be like, excellent progress. But yeah, no, that's one of the that's one of the other things that's important. Something that's also 23. There will also be, no, actually not 2023, it's now Solidariteit's busy with their own campaign against discrimination, also with some European bodies, and that's happening now at the moment. You can go check out Dirk Herman's Facebook for more information on that. White student transmission says document evidence is the first step in getting the government, legal institutions action. Absolutely, and you have to put it on the record. You have to make sure people are aware. So yeah, next, let's see here. Before I get to South Tyrol, just making sure I've covered everything now. So that's the Geneve part of our trip. It was the United Nations part. And like I said, the handing, the submission of high quality detailed reports, doing factual, well-researched and solid speeches and presentations at things like the UN 15 session on minority issues. All these things contribute to establishing AfriForum as a trustworthy and solid voice and legitimate player in the bigger picture. And it's opened a lot of doors for us, a lot of things going on behind the scenes as well that you will be finding out as they develop, especially in 2023, to just watch this space. I see Voni Cronier says, please like and share this content. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It helps out the show a lot. I see as a question, Babalas for Border asked, what type of intervention of the UN take if SA government doesn't pass its review? Well, the first step is let's see if it passes the review or not. Secondly, if they don't pass, the UN could demand that they then review, or not review is the wrong word, to reform these policies, and that they have to bring them to an end, that they are violating the anti-discrimination and equality standards of the UN, and that they will then be condemned by the UN if they refuse to reform these policies. And if there's one thing I know about the ANC, or two things. Firstly, the ANC is, like I've told you on previous streams, obsessed with the balance of forces. That's how the ANC take decisions. It's not just some handful of people deciding we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. It's a constant calculation of the balance of forces. The balance of forces is the majority of forces against us or with us. The other thing that's important. And the balance of forces gets tipped when organizations like the UN criticize governments like the South African government. So they're definitely afraid of it. That gets me to the second point. That is that the ANC does not react well to criticism from abroad at all. They have been used to, for decades, being the golden boys of the world. They were praised as this amazing government, these amazing champions of equality and whatever. But as that starts to change, as they get more criticism from abroad, exactly that is starting to create cracks within the ANC. You should see how they react when they get criticized or condemned. They lash out, they get very angry, they get very desperate, and they look very bad, and they sever ties and they burn bridges. So that's very important to also keep in mind, that type of condemnation or that type of criticism from abroad also has a very negative effect on the on specifically the ANC. So yeah, Grant says sound is acting up. Is my sound fine? Can you guys hear me? I hope it's fine. If it's not, give me some type of indication. All right. So the third very big focus, and I'm constantly thinking in Afrikaans. It's the end of 2022. It's starting. My Afrikaans of my English is starting to run out. My Engels raak op. So sound is fine. All right, cool. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Cool, 100%. So the other, I keep thinking of the Afrikaans word doelwit instead of objective. So the other main objective that we had was to meet with our friends from South Tyrol, allies of the Afrikaner, friends of the Afrikaner there. Man, I'd like to attend everything in the chat, but my power is going off at 8 o'clock. So I got to get through everything. We'll see closer to the end if I can get to some more comments. Oh, I see your sound is now working fine. But thank you for letting me know, Grant. In the future as well, to everyone, if there's anything weird about my sound or picture, let me know. I'll address that. Dagbreker says prepaid meter for English needs topping up. Absolutely. All right. So next, third one, South Tyrol. Colonel Chris Wyatt on his stream gave an excellent background on South Tyrol in regards to what it is. He also has I didn't know, had very good relationship and personal experience in South Tyrol, which I will now know for the future. But yeah, so South Tyrol is an autonomous province in Italy. It has a German majority population demographically, and the province is granted a considerable level of self-government consisting of a large range of exclusive legislative and executive powers and a fiscal regime that allows it to retain 90% of revenue while remaining a net contributor to the regional budget. As of 2016, South Tyrol is the wealthiest province in Italy and among the wealthiest in the European Union. And there's a lot of parallels between the South Tyroleans and the Afrikaners, and that's why this relationship was created, this friendship was created. And I'll tell you a bit more about that. So the first point of connection, 1809, Tyrol is invaded by the forces of Napoleon Bonaparte. He invades, and the Tyroleans are fighting back, and they are not fighting back with state-of-the-art weaponry. They are humble farmers, and they are rebelling and resisting this imperial force that is trying to engulf them. And their big hero was Andreas Hofer, an innkeeper during the time, and he was the leader of this resistance. That's the first point of connection. You can already see the parallel with the Anglo-Boer Wars. Also a small band of humble farmers fighting an imperial force that is trying to destroy them. And putting up a major fight. I see Warning Cornelius. It's interesting. Petra says, for Chris and Adam's cake. Yeah, definitely go watch that stream. It was very fun, and there's a lot of information there that I'm probably going to miss this stream. Then also, That's the first point of connection. Second point of connection is 1922, 200 years later. That is when the fascists gain power in Italy, and South Tyrol, also after the First World War, was first part of Austria, but then because Italy fought on the side of the Allies, it was gifted South Tyrol as a province, and it became part of Italy. Now you've got this German majority province being part of the Italian state. 1922, Italian fascists gain power, and then starts the process of Italianization. Now, this was very interesting to learn more about. So Italianization was a process by the Italian government to pretty much Italianize what the word says, the German population of South Tyrol, that province, and break it demographically to turn it more Italian demographically and break the German demographic. So basically demographic. So this took on many forms. Firstly, it took on the form of, let me just put, because I had it, I actually put up a photo on Twitter, and I just want to make sure I've got, I cover it all, because there's a lot of parallels with South Africa that I think a lot of Afrikaners specifically are going to make your ears prick up. So firstly, prohibition of all German inscriptions, and then the changing of town names, city names, street names from German to Italian. That's why the city that we visited, Butzen, was also called Bolzano, which is the Italian name. Butzen is the German name. So these name changes happened. Italian was made the only valid language in public. German schools were abolished and outlawed, and German public servants and German teachers were dismissed. Mass immigration of Italians from the south of Italy was encouraged and promoted by the government to invert the demographic situation in South Tyrol. The creation of an industrial era in Butzen exclusively for workers from the south, and the job reservation for Italians in this German majority province. So these are all, and then also one of the most shocking ones is the fact that many of the Germans had to change their names. They were forced to change their names and surnames from German names and surnames to Italian names and surnames. And I see a sideline opinion says Italians did to the Tyroleans what the Brits tried to do with the Boers. Well, you beat me to it there. That's the conclusion. So that's the other point of connection between the South Tyroleans and the South Africans, or the Afrikaners specifically, is Italianization as opposed to Anglicization. And not just Anglicization. A lot of the stuff that's happening there is happening under the ANC as well, with its policies targeting minority groups and specifically Afrikaners. Street names, towns being renamed, job reservations for specific people based on demographics, demographic warfare, promoting the immigration of people for political ends, all this stuff. The ANC definitely is following a similar playbook. And that's why the South Tyroleans have a lot of sympathy for the Afrikaner cause here in South Africa. So what's also important is the fact that, and that's a lot of people didn't know, I didn't know until very recently, is that there's the, let me just get the title here before I butchered the German pronunciation on Chris Wyatt's channel. I just want to make sure I've got it here. So it's the Suid-Tiroler Vriendeskruis deur Afrikaner, die South Tyrolean, Suid-Tirolse Vriendekring van die Afrikaner, or the South Tyrolean Friend Circle of the Afrikaner, Friends of the Afrikaner. It's a Facebook page that you can go like. It's a very active community. I'll put it in the chat now and just put it on the screen as well. If you are an Afrikaner or anyone just curious about this, go check it out. There's the title on the screen. Go like that on Facebook. It's the Friend Circle of the Afrikaner and the South Tyrol. Yes, YZulu says Tyrol is part of Austria, if I'm correct. Tyrol, the bigger region, yes, but there are three parts of it, as Chris explained on his channel as well. There's the eastern, I think it's East Tyrol, then there's Tyrol itself, that's in part of Austria, and then South Tyrol is part of part of Italy due to those historical reasons that I outlined. I see a sideline opinion says hit the like button and share this discussion to assist CC and AfriForum with their awareness campaign. Thank you very much. Dagbreker, yeah, you've got that connection as well. And the South Tyrolians, the South Tirolers, picked up on that as well. So one of the things that I also noticed, so when we visited there, we were welcomed by our friends, South Tyrolian friends, and one of them, Christoph van Ack, invited us for a traditional South Tyrolian dinner at his house. And the first thing I noticed when I walked into his house was the fact that he has a little bust of General Koos de la Rey on his bookshelf and a book about Paul Kruger on his bookshelf. So there's a genuine interest in the Afrikaners history, and they see the connections. So this is also very important. I mentioned this on Chris Wyatt's channel as well. This is one of the lessons that I was once again, one of the insights that was once again reaffirmed to me, and that is, geen volk kan bekostig om 'n eiland te wees nie. No volk can now my guys, my my English is gone. 2022 has taken it all. Has taken all my English and my petrol tank from me. So no folk can afford. There's the word. No folk can afford to be an island, and that's definitely the beauty of these friendships that we're building. We can learn a lot of lessons from them. We can't take their model and copy and paste it just in South Africa, but we can get a lot of insights from them. And there's a lot to be learned from our situation for them as well. But we share a lot of the same type of history, same dynamics as a minority, a demographic minority in a larger country with a government that has a mixed history of being either very hostile or neutral towards us. So that's the one thing. Other thing that's also important is the fact that when you talk to these South Tyrolians, they genuinely have a lot of knowledge about South Africa, and they've visited South Africa, many of them. This Vriendeskring, or the Vriendeskruis, the Vriendekring, has visited South Africa, some of them multiple times. So they've seen what's going on there. They're big supporters of AfriForum. They're big supporters of the Solidariteit movement. They're also big supporters of Urania. They've visited Urania. They've given a flag to Urania. They've taken a flag to Urania, a South Tyrolian flag. And there are very good relations building there. But it was also important that we as AfriForum representatives go build these relationships as well, and this friendship as well, seeing as we need those friends. When times get tough, when minorities or Afrikaners are being targeted, you need those friends that will speak up and say, this is wrong, and these are the facts. This is what's going on, specifically overseas. Very, very important. Sideline opinion says, Koos de la Rey does not get enough credit in South Africa. He was a brilliant soldier and a visionary principled leader, died a sad death, shot in the back, unfortunately. Opposed to the war up until the very last moment. And when he was called a coward by some of his own people, he said, well, you just have to remember that if this war breaks out, and we have to understand the gravity of this, if it does break out, I can promise you I will be fighting long after most of you have run away and deserted. And he kept to his word. That happened. He was a bitter einde. He fought to the end. Even after many of those who had been the most eager supporters of going to war had long run away and deserted the battlefield. So yeah, no, he's an incredible figure in our history, a genuine hero. I wanted to also add, this is just a side note, seeing as I've covered the South Tyrol case now, I've covered the UN visit, given my feedback, answered your questions. I just wanted to give some further thoughts, and that is the fact that I also got to experience a lot of federalism in practice in Europe, in Switzerland, specifically the canton system. So they've got that canton system where they've got 26 different cantons, some of them predominantly German, some of them bilingual German and French, some of them Italian, and I think it's 4, and Romansh is the other language. So when we were in Geneve, that was part of the canton of Geneve, which is a French majority canton. All the signs in the city were French. Everyone was speaking French. The intercom on the train was French. So you felt like you might as well be in a city, a French city. Then, as we traveled by train, as we were heading to South Tyrol, we were traveling down. We were traveling through Switzerland. We went to Bern. When we got to Bern, the canton of Bern, also the city of Bern, Bern is a bilingual canton. So it's German and French. So then you started hearing German over the intercom and French. The signs also were German and French. You saw, and the menus were German and French. Instructions, the service that you get, you could either speak French or German. You could probably get one or the either, or one or both. It was very interesting. And then we traveled to Zurich, which is part of the Zurich canton, which is a German canton in Switzerland, which means now you get predominantly German. You hear predominantly German over the intercom. You see predominantly German in the text. So that's definitely it was very interesting seeing that federal idea, that federalism as it relates to linguistics, languages, and culture in practice. Very, very nice. Very interesting to see. Then also, what stood out to me was the fact that when we traveled when we arrived in South Tyrol, is the fact that there's still a strong pride in their culture, even though they are a minority in Italy. They are living as Germans. They are living their German identity. They're speaking German. They're insisting on speaking German. If someone can speak German to them, they speak to them in German rather than Italian. It is asserting themselves as German and living fully as Germans. That's how you survive as a minority. You have to assert yourself in that regard. You have to live fully and openly what you are. If you're an Afrikaner, you live fully and openly Afrikaner. You live your culture, you live your values, you speak your language. It's amazing stuff. And I mean, outside of my streams, which I do in English to inform the world of what's going on in South Africa, I speak 99% Afrikaans in my daily life. I also have my Afrikaans YouTube channel in alle Arabs, wat jy kan gaan luister vir Afrikaanse inhoud. But yeah, like I said, outside of my streams and online content, I also make a lot of, also write and create a lot of Afrikaans content. But outside of that, my life is living as an Afrikaner and speaking my language and practicing what I preach. Peter says, mooi man, nou kom hier kom die Afrikaans nou deur. Ek en my stout man maak dit almal van AfriForum wat julle vir ons beteken. Well, baie dankie. Sadhan Appian says, what will you personally take away from your first international adventure as AfriForum ambassador? Well, the things that I've covered, but then also one other thing, and that is that genuine friendships and inspiration for the Afrikaner are both worth their weight in gold. Their weight cannot be overstated, and the importance, value cannot be overstated. Inspiration for Afrikaners in our thinking, and genuine good friends, domestically and abroad. Both of these things are incredibly important to our survival and thriving here at the southern tip of Africa, and my journey definitely re-established that opinion within me. Let's see here. So there's another thing that I wanted to cover. Freelanced Kate says, hello everyone, I'm new. I was recommended from Chris White. Well, welcome Kate. Thank you very much, Chris, sending everyone my way. So, yes, that's the thing. There's a report. There's a link to the full report that I talked about, the CERD report, in the description, and there's also a link to Ernst Roets' speech description. We also did, that's the thing I wanted to cover, we also did some interviews there in South Tyrol with the South Tyroleans for a documentary, my documentary that I'm creating on autonomy and federalism and increasing self-prestige, self-governance for groups in South Africa, taking your destiny into your own hands. That documentary is releasing on the 15th of February. It will be an Afrikaans documentary, but it will have subtitles, so you'll be able to follow along. We interviewed many interesting people in South Tyrol to tell their side of the story. We talked to, for example, Christoph van Ack that I mentioned earlier. We talked, and he's the honorary president of the Tyrol Friedeskreis, the Afrikaner. And we talked as well to the previous president of South Tyrol, Dr. Louis Durnwalder. Then we also did an interview with a representative. I just have to remember what his his center was called, because I don't want to give you the false site if you want to go look it up. But then before I get to him, we also did an interview with Carlo Vittori. He is a parliament. He's a member of parliament there in South Tyrol, and then also just to get just to get that name of that organizer of that center right. Yeah, so we talked to Mark Rogla. He's the head of the Center of Autonomy Experience, URAC Research in Boetse. So those are all the people we did interviews with. Went very well. I'm very excited to hear your feedback from about my documentary and for you to see it. And to ask, when is the documentary coming out? As 15 February, it will be on AfriForum TV, but also on AfriForum's YouTube channel. So just subscribe there to let. But I'll just watch my social media. I will be promoting it. Yeah, so South is Urania has long-standing friendship with South Tyrol. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Dimitri Papa says, amazing traveling to fight for the truth and rights of your people. Unbelievable. This channel should be exploding with views. Where is everyone? Smash that like button. The least we can do. Thank you very much, Dimitri. Really appreciate it. All right. Yeah, and Indus is looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to finally being done. It's been a lot of hard work. 2020 has been a hectic year, as we say in South Africa. But yeah, that brings me to the end. This is my last stream of 2022. I'm still working this week, and then after that, I will be taking some leave, and I will be back early in January to continue the work that I'm doing and also to bring more content for you. Thank you. I just want to use this opportunity now, as we wrap up this last stream of 2022. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you to everyone that always leaves comments, that shares these streams with all their family and friends on social media. Thanks for everyone for your comments and questions and everything in the live chats. My live chats are the highlights of these streams. I love reading it. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all the supporters of AfriForum. Thank you for all the supporters of this channel. It's from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. Baie dankie. Jamaya Saintley. Kia leboga. Jamaya Saintley is walk well. Kia leboga. Baie dankie. If Chris Wyatt's in the chat, he's gonna be livid. But yeah, no, 2022 has been a great year. It's been a busy year. It's been a difficult year, but it's been a very productive, great year for me and for AfriForum. And I'm very honored to be part of this process of getting more friends with Afrikaner abroad, finding more allies and friends for us, for our fight for freedom, and informing people about what's going on in South Africa with the real facts. That's really, it's a big honor, and it's a humbling experience. And thank you everyone that's helped with that experience, or that's helped with getting the truth out there, helped with just your support. It's very much appreciated. I'm just going to be I mentioned this on Chris Wyatt's channel, but I might as well give a shout out here on my channel as well. So I met Leuven Jansen van Rensburg and then also Gert Jansen van Rensburg. Coincidentally, we ran into each other here in Pretoria, and we had a great chat. And I told them it's very nice to meet people in person behind the usernames and profile pictures. To meet someone in person is definitely something that I think is an important part of what we do. When you enjoy people's content, it's nice to meet them in person. I really enjoy that. But ja, groete Leuven en Gert. Dankie dat julle tyd gevat het om met my bietjie te gesels ook daar. I'm just going to be putting some comments here on the screen to give you some airtime, some love here at the end. Dagbreker, so I just had a look. After all, the size of the Western Joburg and really combined. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's 2022. That's stream of consciousness for the year. I also did a thread on Twitter that you can go watch my top 10 episodes for the year based on views. Some very good ones there. There's a lot of good ones that didn't make that list, but you can go check it out while I'm away. While I'm not creating content, you can just go back through my database of episodes. Like I've said previously, I made a conscious decision a few years back to start creating content that will last. So you can watch an episode from last year; it will be just as relevant. It's not just news analysis or talking about the current thing; it's talking about some bigger stuff. So yeah, there's a whole database of episodes that you can watch while you wait for new fresh content. Yeah, I'm pretty much done. I'm just making sure I give attention to all of your comments because you really deserve it. I'm very blessed with the audience that I have. You are very, very friendly, very supportive, and very funny. All right. No, thank you very much. Drop your Twitter link. Sure. Just give me a second. Oh yeah, you can also join my Telegram. There's a link in the description to be informed when I go live from next year again. And I'll also put my latest opinion pieces and stuff there. So here's the link as asked. Also, wait, let me just put this here. Here's the link to that thread. Yeah. What? Zulu, thank you very much. Petra says, geseënde Kersfees erns aan jou en die span, of geseënde Kersfees aan jou en jou gesin en jou familie. All right. Also, my last thing is also go like this page if you are interested in what I was talking about with the Friends of the Afrikaner. Yeah, my power is going off in 8 minutes, so I better start moving. Just put this in there. If it just wants to. Okay, whatever. There we go. I've spammed it now. Anyway, all right, guys, I'll check you in 2022. If you've been new to this channel, you can subscribe for more content like this. And yeah, go follow me on Twitter. And yeah, I'll check you guys next year, 2023. It's going to be a massive year. More content coming your way. And yeah, I hope to see you there. Cheers, guys. Have a good one. And God bless. Stay safe this holiday season. Geseënde Kersfees aan almal daar buite. Hou moed, hou koers, dink vir jouself en dink vooruit. Merry Christmas. Blessed Christmas. Goodbye. Walk well. See you next year.